Update 1.1 has just released for Roboquest, so in this video I'll be going over the patch notes and the 2024 roadmap, so stay tuned. Down in the description below I will put some timestamps to organize everything in this video. So with that being said, let's get into it. There's a lot of changes that has been made during this update, as you can see. Little brief overview, and if you want to see these for yourself, I'll provide a link down in the description below. So first off, we have several gameplay changes. They've added additional random chunks of level design to the zones Aqua Station, Ruins, and Quarry to help vary the experience in those levels. They also added a new NPC named Lottery Luke, which I did mention about the news update regarding this release. They've also added an update to a fix to multiplayer where the locked doors in both fields and energy center safe areas are now open by default if both players already unlocked them once. The weapon in the chest of the sewers and ruins is now always epic, which is great. This gives us more variety of what we could do with our runs. We also get an increased level of weapons found in Max's chest and all safe areas by 1. They added a developer's note that these weapons will now be at the same level as the ones from Chef Paul and Smithing Joe and create more of an interesting choice for the player. Digging a hole will dig it for your robot as well. Increased cryo application rate by approximately 10%, which is actually pretty huge. It gives more viability to cryo, and cryo is already pretty strong as is. You also get increased damage scaling for all minions deployed from weapons from 10% to 15% per level, which is insane. And this is definitely needed because minions were definitely lacking, but I definitely want to test this out for myself. Reduced jetpack duration from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds and increased regeneration duration from 2.5 seconds to 4 seconds. It was great. I felt like the jetpack ran out too quickly. Definitely enjoy being able to use it more. It's definitely something I use a lot when I'm trying to be as fast as I can in mobile during my runs. So now the next part of the patch notes are the classes. There's quite a few changes. So in general, there have been some changes to the perks. So we can increase the range of damage auras from 6 meters to 7.5 meters. We get increased Meteor Bubble aura damage from 15 to 17, but then they nerfed Chromatic Tempest, changing the damage from 8 to 7, and also Radiance damage from 8 to 7 as well. They also changed perks for the specific classes: Recon, Elementalist, Guardian, Ranger, and Engineer. Most of it are buffs. All changes are buffs to Happy Slice, Overpower, Kevlar Pad, Frontliner, True Shot. These changes are pretty significant, but just keep a note. Even though for Happy Slice the duration is increased by 3 seconds, they're reducing the damage bonus by 10%, which is a fair trade-off. Overpower damage from 50% to 75%, a 25% increase, which is absolutely insane. Kevlar Pad duration is increased by 1 second. Frontline armor bonus increased by 4%, which is good because 12% doesn't feel like enough, especially at the Guardian difficulties. True Shot maximum charge from 4 to 5, which is really, really nice. If you're a Recon main, let me know down in the comment section below. For Elementalist, we definitely desperately needed some buffs, and a lot of the changes have been made to Elementalist in the buffing department. So for Trinity, damage decreased from 48 to 46, which is the only nerf in this list for Elementalist. Comet damage increased from 45 to 48, which is really nice. I felt like Comet was a little bit lacking in the damage department as well. Increased attunement, cryo base damage from 25 to 30, attunement from shock ricochet number from 1 to 2, so we get another ricochet from shock. Increased arcane power bonus ability damage from 25% to 30%, a nice little 5% increase there. And a fire cooldown reduction for a second. Meteor bonus melee damage from 75% to 100%. Another 25% increase for damage. Robo Wizard bonus damage per stack from 20% to 25%. Dynamic Mantra passive bonus damage from 5% to 10%. Modified Trinity Infusion secondary elemental damage. Decreased burn damage from 48 to 46, but increased cryo damage from 13 to 14, and increased shock damage from 60 to 68. So it seems like with Trinity Infusion, they wanted to balance the damage output for each element. Next up, we have Guardian, which is only one change, but it is above the Tiny Punch. Projectile damage from 16 to 17, and its impact force from 20 to 25. So those who like to go melee with Guardian, this is great for you. Ranger perks increased true shot maximum charges from 6 to 8, and increased augment bonus charge for true shot from 2 to 4. I love using Ranger, so this is really great to see. I love using Guardian as well. But next up, we have Engineer. We have 3 changes. So we have increased oil cannon fire rate bonus from 10% to 15%. Same increase for bodybuilding. However, Pyromastery has been nerfed by the chance to spread by 2%. So next up, we have weapons. I'm not going to go over every single weapon change because there's quite a bit, but we are going to go over the affixes. So increased Mega Boom bonus radius from 25% to 35%. That's a 10% increase. Increased its damage bonus from 25% to 30%. So this means you get more AoE and more damage just from this buff alone, while also improving its chance. We also get Bullseye buff by 5%, bonus critical damage 25 to 30%. Increased spear chance to trigger from 15% to 20%. Increased the Havoc secondary ability damage bonus from 15% to 20%. This one is really nice because this means you do not have to rely on the starter pistol whenever you are going for an ability like Javelin or Dagger, which is really nice, gives you more freedom. Increase the chance to trigger for Scorch, Thunder, and Shard from 20% to 30%, which is huge. Increase velocity bonus critical damage from 20% to 25%. And the Arctic gun can no longer roll the buckshot affix. So that's important to note. Developers note was added to the section 2. So they said this was actually breaking the game in many different ways, both performance and gameplay wise. So unfortunately, there are some fundamental issues with the buckshot affix on the Arctic gun. But it's okay. Hopefully they come up with a fix later on. They added the prime affix to several weapons which didn't have it previously. Removed the first affix from many weapons. Okay. So their developer note on this is that we mainly removed it from weapons which were taking advantage of the infinite ammunition effects and were permanently full ammo. The effects only remains on a few slower weapons like snipers. So they're trying to nerf the infinite ammo type builds, which is understandable. They could be pretty broken. So there's a lot of balance changes to the weapons. A lot of the weapons. Just trying to see anything that stands out to me. Nope. Okay. Oh, yeah. So they increased the junk beam rifle's fire rate, which is already insane for high fire rate builds. So a lot of these weapons have been buffed, which is really good to see. They've also made some changes to the items. So they reduced red card cooldown from 6 to 4 seconds. Increased no globe damage from 20 to 22, decreased tiny bicycle charge rate from 0.5 seconds to 1 second, reduced its max stack from 10 to 5. That's a 50% reduced amount, which is a lot. Increased its bonus damage from 10% to 20%. Reduced ice cube damage application from burn from 100% to 80%. decrease fireman truck charge rate from 0.5 seconds to 1 second, reduce its max stack from 10 to 5, increase its bonus damage from 10 to 20%, increase screwdriver execution threshold 15% to 20%, reduce magic boom cooldown from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, decrease jet fighter explosion radius from 2.1 meters to 1.8 meters, increase its item damage from 50 to 56, increase its cooldown from 2.5 seconds to 3 seconds, decrease cheese jetpack bonus duration from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds, decrease flower pot crowd control duration from 70% to 50%. So all the items have been absolutely nerfed in this segment, which is understandable. I was kind of wondering how they're planning on balancing all the buffs, and what they did was nerf a lot of the essential items. They've also made some changes to the enemies. This one's pretty interesting because there have been some complaints in the community that Guardian 4 in certain runs are a little too easy. Enemies get melted too easily. So here they've increased the life of the bosses, except for Mini Mosquito. His base health was decreased. Battle Royale damage of all attacks have been increased by 10% in average. So damage output is there too for the bosses. But the most important part of these patches are the bug fixes. So I'll go over each one of these bug fixes. Fixed an issue where you could be stuck in a black screen after Billy Boom's explosion. Egg spawns for Mosquito and Battle Royale will properly be destroyed at the end of the fight. I know sometimes they do get stuck there and they don't disappear. Bullflies should now properly be able to hit you when charging from a very close distance. So that's a bit of a buff. I didn't even realize that was broken. Xbox Series Ground Z fighting issue should be resolved. Fixed an issue where using grappling hook and dash one after the other would prevent you from using jetpack until your next grappling hook use. Significant fix right there, especially because Roboquest really relies on movement and mobility. Enemy hit sound in Max's Museum no longer fail to trigger when using spacebar. Drones will no longer be invulnerable forever after picking the Cozy Kennel perk. Fixed a few issues on spots where you could get stuck when using dash on Iris Part 1. Dash will no longer act weird when casted right before a boss cinematic. Paying weapons spawning out of holes will probably work in multiplayer. The doors with the timer are now properly sync on multiplayer. That's pretty huge. Fixed an issue where you'd be stuck forever and looking for a robot after going back to the base camp while already in multiplayer. You can open locked doors by yourself even after a robot has disconnected. That could be easily exploited. I'm glad they fixed it. Battle Boom will no longer fail to be cleared after one of the enemies flew off the map. And that is all of the patch notes for the 1.1 update for Roboquest. As soon as I saw this update get pinged in the Discord, I immediately went onto my computer to record this video. So I'm going to show you guys what I originally saw here on the announcements section of the Discord page. It gave us a highlight, pretty much just summarizes the entirety of the patch notes. But I did wanna bring up that a few things with the highlights, that they did add a new NPC, like I mentioned earlier. Larry Luke is making his entrance in Roboquest, but this is not the final version of Lottery Luke. They do plan on doing something a bit more with him and flesh him out a bit more in future updates to come. They talked about the balance changes, of course, random diversification, but I did want to talk about the future of Roboquest. They actually have the roadmap to share today. So they have planned for 3 free updates after the current one. So not including the current update, we're getting 3. So we're getting the Arsenal, the super, and the endless updates. The endless update that makes me think of wave-based mode. I am so pumped for that. Okay, after that, we don't know yet, which is fine. But here's the roadmap. Let me click on this. Here we go, the roadmap for 2024 in Roboquest. So the small update, which was today, obviously January 2024, new NPC balance changes, just a small update to keep things fresh, keeping things fresh within the first 2 months. And then the next update is in spring for the Arsenal update. We're getting new weapons, and in their words, a tons of spicy additions for our beloved Arsenal. So it could be new items, new perks, maybe a new class. So, and then summer, we get the super update, autumn endless update, winter 2025 update. So it's nice that this roadmap actually goes into the following year. So huge, huge plans for 2024 for Roboquest. And then also, if you're into if you're into art books, they have released a official art book for Roboquest, which is included with the soundtrack and game bundle Roboquest. So if you've already purchased the soundtrack and the game bundle, they'll automatically be upgraded into the digital deluxe edition, which is pretty awesome to see. I might actually get the soundtrack just so I could get the deluxe edition as well. I love the artwork that they've done with the Roboquest. It's phenomenal. Love the comic book style. It's great. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this huge in-depth overview of the patch notes for update 1.1 and the upcoming updates for 2024. Are you excited? I definitely am.